40k. Let's have a sit and talk. I've been watching some competitive videos today, and it just made me thinking about the differences between competitive players and fluff players. Like fluff players, we're quite old, kind of lax with the rules. You know, we change the rules on the tabletop based on scenarios. We play our armies as the fluff was intended. Sometimes we forget rules, and the opponent expects you to forget a couple. So you're like, yeah, don't worry about it, just carry on, and you talk about it at the end of the game. With fluff players, well, with competitive players, they expect you to know the rules. If you don't know the rules, you're cheating. But they come up with these strategies and stuff based on what they see. Like I was reading D6 Evolution review on Chaos Knights and some stuff we needed to know. Now, I'm going to tell you my idea of a good knight, and then I'll tell you what they said. You should watch that video, by the way, it's good. I thought, you know, there's the battle cannons, double battle cannons or Avenger cannons, right? Stand back, bang, 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 bang. Job's a good one. He's got stumpy feet. Anybody comes in close, he could just stomp them. He could defend the line and shoot at a distance. Really good. They came along and said, most players would take a double weapon and then like Avenger auto cannons, I think it is, and or battle cannons, and then forget they've got a close assault or close combat attack as well. And I thought, they're talking about me. And then they start talking about, you know, you should be in the faces with Chaos Knights. You should be bang, 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 shooting at them and then stomp attacking them and then pulling back, shooting, stomp, attack, pull back, shoot, stomp, pull back, that kind of thing. Making the most of the attacks with your shooting and your melee, because you can enter and leave combat freely with a knight. And I thought, yeah, they've just nailed that there. That is exactly what you should be doing. And they started talking about knights, Chaos Knights being less survivable, and you need to charge them across the board. And now the demon version rather than the dark adaptus version was better at that, because the key strategies were cheaper and stuff like that. And he said you could get some of them to do a 31-inch charge in a turn, or 31-inch move in a turn, which I assume is a move, a charge, and something else. Right? So I thought, that's quite devastating, that is. You know, that is, most people play on a 6x4 board, that's a first turn charge by a knight who wants to be in combat. And then he started talking about a corn rule where it nullifies your own invulnerable save. Doesn't sound very good, does it? But they were saying it nullifies your opponents as well. Imagine Gilliman coming up against a knight that nullifies his invulnerable save. Oh, that guy's dogged me, isn't he? So you see, it's interesting listening to the people who are really anal about the rules and overly competitive, shall we say, who aren't setting out to cheat and, you know, stretch the rules to breaking point like some do, when they're just trying to make the best out of the rules in a legitimate manner. Rules that don't leave you looking at the thing in disbelief, you know, like, yeah, that works. Even as a fluff player, I can see that is how that is supposed to work. When you see that kind of attitude and the fluff player looks at it and thinks, yeah, that sounds legit to me, then you know that they're not cheating and stretching the rules to breaking point. They've actually got a real point. And fluff players tend to be too busy with the fluff to be that in depth with the rules like the competitive players are, and we're a bit relaxed in that department. It's one of the things that fluff players do wrong that competitive players do right. Competitive players tend to forget all the background, so they don't always remember that certain sides aren't supposed to be together, that certain combinations are just considered to be very odd by the Emperor himself, that kind of thing. But the Almost Pro Gaming site or channel, he does a monthly roundup of basically tournament results, and he interviews players and stuff. And I mentioned this before in a previous video, But he was talking about the easiest way to take down knights is in melee. And I hadn't really considered that. I thought you wouldn't want to get close to that because you'd die. I mean, I tried attacking a knight with an orc boys once just to see what could happen. Just a test scenario. I just piled in loads and loads of boys into a knight and it didn't end well. They did have power fists, but it didn't end well. Right? But these people were talking about one guy stepping in and attacking. And I thought, yeah, power fists, I can see that working, especially if you get a lot of attacks. But you'd have to get some good results. And just as that was registered in my brain from one video, D6 Evolution came out with this sort of like, give them a Slanesh artifact, lets them attack first. So the knight suddenly attacks the smash captain first, and I thought, this is incredibly interesting. This is paper, scissors, rock. Knight charges across the board, smash captain comes, kills it. So you give the knight the artifacts from Slanesh, suddenly, or Marcus Slanesh or whatever, suddenly he attacks first and the knight dies, or not, like the smash captain dies. And you start thinking, Jesus man, brains can be tied in knots. I mean, how would you know? But then they started saying the Chaos Knight, you basically assemble it, as in you choose the rules for it, on the tabletop. That's when you know who you're facing. And I thought, that's a bit sneaky, that is. Because usually you don't know who you're facing. Well, at least in my games, you don't know who you're facing or what you're facing. You don't know the rules you'll be playing. It's all randomly chosen. You just got to build an army that can take on anything, right? And whereas with competitive play, you know the scenarios beforehand. At least that's my understanding. And so you've already got a bit of an edge. So anyhow, just the way these things work and the combinations and how their mindset works is quite interesting to me. I actually like just following the trends in which armies are currently the best and which ones aren't. And then GW does a FAQ, which annoys me when they nerf one rule because of somebody cheating in competitive play. But it does have a knock-on effect, which I do like, and that is the armies that tend to be at the best change dramatically based on these tiny little rule changes in a FAQ. Now, competitive play is all about the meta, optimal units, stuff like that. I don't agree with the optimal units. Competitive play are not optimal units. They can go and take that and shove it, right? Because it's boring to feel just optimal units. And to be honest, some of my favourite units aren't optimal. The meta changes, and usually the top three are Elder, Knights and Imperial Guard. I'm not sure what's changed, but this month Elders are at number 1, but Knights are at number 10. Imperial Guard are somewhere in the middle. Admech, which usually floats between 8 and an honourable mention, are an honourable mention, and with Thousand Suns, 2 sides I run. I think Blood Angels were in the top 10 as a full army in their own right. I thought to myself, that's unusual. Space Marines usually don't get near there at all. I mean, I don't remember anything changing for Space Marines other than that new tank. Do you? And you know, the meta is just a fashion that competitive players follow, and it changes based on rule changes and stuff like that. But it does produce some rather interesting results. And when you see the good players, the ones that make their list themselves and don't just download it offline and then brag about it on some forum, when you see them play and you see their list, sometimes it's dead simple and obvious, like the Thousand Suns list of what won Dallas and the Alamo tournaments this year, right? But usually there's something in there that's a bit special. I mean, a lot of the times it's just the same old, you know, and you think to yourself, how can they play that list every game? Don't they ever get bored of playing the same list? And the answer is no. They play to win, and that's the list that wins. But sometimes you see something really special hidden in there, and you think to yourself, that army was just going to be incredible, right? That army is going to be great to play, and you'll just go and do it yourself, you know, just like the competitive players or the wannabe competitive players do. I tend to look for the unusual, that's what I like. Now, talking of fun units, I mean, let's be honest here, the Lord Discordant, the Disco unit, that is awesome, especially on the charge. Not so good when it's locked into combat, But, well, he's still alright when he's locked into combat, but he's brilliant on the charge. And he's a really fun unit to make and paint as well. So on a scale of 1 to 10 from usability, modelling and painting, he's about a 9.5. He's not perfect, but 9.5, that's a really good model. Mutilate Beast, that's another fun unit I love to take. And I don't feel as often as I'd like, but I do really love it. And it's kind of like, it's alright on its own. It's kind of, yeah, it's not optimal. It's not something competitive players would consider. So it's not one of those units that you see in tournaments generally. But it's got one of those things that when it comes into range of a Zango unit, and suddenly its powers can be used for good, as in for good for the Zangos, bad for everybody else, it goes from just being basically a flesh-based neutral Mauler Fiend, which is similar to what it actually is, into being a psychic Mauler Fiend. It's not psychic really, it's just powers, but you get what I mean. It's got powers that click in. And it can even just do mortal wounds all over the place. One mortal wound per unit around it, so you might think, okay, this is going to be good. Just charge it smack into the middle of a load of units, then roll the dice, 2+, mortal wounds all around, please. So you tend to like think, oh, that's brilliant, that is, you know, I really, really like that. And another unit that isn't, again, competitive, and I would take these usually to make up the points, but to be honest, the way of taking is a made primary unit, 6 of them, bliss, and that's the Chaos Spawn. Now the Chaos Spawn, people say, oh look at, oh, he's got really crap combat roll, 4+, he gets D6 attack, so you might just get 1. It's not very good, is it? It's a bit crap. And that competitive edge means that never consider it, never look at it. But that's because Spawn is toughness 5. He only gets a 5+ save, but he's got 4 wounds, and he will always, in most cases, make it into combat, right, against any kind of Overwatch. And once in combat, any of our units can just stroll in. And in my experience, when they're in combat, they usually kill something. Their worst attack is an AP -2 attack at their own strength. That's a strength 5, AP -2, 2 damage attack. They could take out Primaris Marines with each attack. And they're only 25 points. So they're a really fun unit to take, but again, not competitive. They wouldn't be on the list. But when you apply, and this is the point I'm making here, when you apply that mindset that competitive players have for choosing optimal units, and you apply that to all the units, suddenly you've got a situation where the sky's the limit. They'll pick the best units and they give the best stuff to it. Try that with all the units. All the units, not just the units that they would pick, but them units you might not pick. Raptors, they're just chainsaws with jump packs. No AP modifier on them at all. What happens if you give them certain combinations of things? What happens then? If you apply the rule, well, the rule that the competitive players take to just normal units, you bring that into the fluff game, make that part of your game too, then suddenly you can do some really fun things. And in the end of the day, fluff players are all about fun. Competitive players are about winning, so they limit themselves and what they will do it to. But we don't have to. We can enjoy the benefits of their discoveries on everything. Hope you get the point. See you next time.